Similarly, the recycling and the IPL matter we'll discuss second on the agenda is something that is of significant impact and consequence to our city. Doing it right can lead to jobs, can lead to a better environment, can lead to more thoughtful, consistent policies for our city, not just for this year or next year, but for generations to come. So it's really incumbent on us as councilors to do a good job of listening and doing a deep dive on what the plans are for recycling, because it can be argued that our city over the long term hasn't done enough and hasn't done a good enough job. In fact, we only have about a 10% recycling rate in our city, and it's striking because if you look just within the boundaries of our city itself, Lawrence, which is surrounded by Indianapolis, has a over 70% recycling rate. And in fact, I was texting earlier to confirm that with the one of the leaders in the mayor's office, and he didn't have the final, most recent numbers, but he said the newer numbers will probably be 80 and maybe even higher than 80%. And so the question becomes, how on earth is Lawrence, right within our own county, doing such a better job than the broader city of Indianapolis? And so that's the kind of thing we need to explore. And so as we know, the situation that we have in front of us is there's a decision by the mayor's office to move forward with a proposal by Covanta, who's been a long-time partner to the city of Indianapolis with a facility here downtown, to do recycling that I'll let them explain. That's something called sort of a single stream process. So the question we're struggling with or trying to figure out is what's the right, best policy for the best recycling program we can have in Indianapolis, period, going forward. Maybe the single source approach is a approach. Maybe it's the best approach. Or maybe there's other ways we could think about it that would be a more holistic, assembled approach that would get us to higher levels of recycling. But we want the committee to hear this. We want the public to hear this. And since the council actually doesn't have a vote on this, this is something that's decided in the Public Works Committee, a committee that will meet tomorrow. We wanted to make sure, board, thank you, wanted to make sure we had a thorough public vetting of the proposal here tonight. So with that, I'm going to start. The representatives from Covanta can review exactly what they're proposing and what the contract would hold, and then we'll hear from the Indiana Recycling Coalition. So with that, I'll defer to you. You do need to flip the microphone so you see the yellow light. So.
Thank you. My name is Scott Holkebor. I'm the Regional Vice President for Covanta. I have with me here today Brian Shalati with Van Dyke, who's our equipment supplier, so he'll be helping with the presentation as well. Thank you for having me here tonight to talk about what will be the first complete sustainable waste management system of its kind in North America, the Covanta Advanced Recycling Centers. Hoosiers should be proud of the leadership the City of Indianapolis has taken in this initiative to improve the recycling rate and improve the environment for many years to come. A little bit about Covanta. We are a publicly traded company. We operate 45 modern energy from waste facilities in North America, China, and Europe, primarily here in North America. Our annual capacity is to convert, we are able to convert 20 million tons of waste into enough energy to power over 1 million homes. We're also in the recycling business currently. We currently recycle over 440,000 tons of metals a year, which is enough to build 5 Golden State bridges. And we have 3,500 people employed here in North America. Here today in Indianapolis, we began in 1988. We process 740,000 tons of MSW annually, and we produce enough steam to power over half, or about half of the city's steam needs downtown. Through that, we've enabled citizens to avoid burning coal to that extent. At the plant now, today, we have 78 permanent full-time jobs that are skilled labor, not low-level jobs by any means. We share $2.5 million of our steam revenues with the city every year, and we spend about $19 million here locally. On another note, we also recycle 16,000 tons, over 16,000 tons of metals currently, which makes us, I think, the largest recycler in the city right now. The picture that you see there is just a schematic of what the new facility would look like, built on the current grounds of the EFW facility. There are those who have falsely labeled the Covanta Advanced Recycling Center as a dirty MRF, a label which only serves to mislead the public. The Covanta Advanced Recycling Center is a state-of-the-art automated materials recovery facility, or MRF, that receives, separates, and recovers recyclable materials from a mixed, non-hazardous municipal solid waste stream. The Covanta Advanced Recycling Center in Indianapolis will be one of the most modern recycling facilities in the world, modeled after successfully operating recycling facilities in Europe. Using the latest mechanical and sensor-based technologies and supported by skilled operators, the Covanta Advanced Recycling Center will efficiently recover recyclables from mixed MSWs that would otherwise be disposed. So what we're offering, what the new system would be. We use a single bin solution to combine trash and recyclable materials without any sorting required, collected in one bin on the same day using the same truck on the same route. Residents in single-family homes would no longer have to decide where to throw their trash, and while businesses would be unaffected. Covanta will be making an investment of approximately $45 million to build the Covanta Advanced Recycling Center. Zero capital investment is required by the city. Best of all for taxpayers, Covanta shoulders all the risk of the $45 million investment to build and operate the new facility with high-wage jobs for 60 permanent workers. At no cost to the city, 100% of single-family homes in Indianapolis will be enrolled automatically, increasing recycling by up to 500%. And the current curbside program and drop-off recycling options will continue for residents who wish to pay for them. Some people would have you believe an alternative solution for free curbside recycling can be funded through loans or grants. Despite their best intentions, such a plan would force the city to assume all the financial risk. There is no guarantee the money and commitment will still be there 5 to 10 years from now, forcing the majority of taxpayers into paying for a system they choose not to participate in today. A partnership is about to be voted upon by the Indianapolis Board of Public Works that would significantly increase the amount of trash that is recycled without anyone having to pay for it. Some also suggest that a single bin solution of recycling would lead to further contamination of the waste stream. The truth is, even a dual waste stream system, which is supposedly cleaner than single stream, produces contaminated materials. No system is perfect. However, we can guarantee our operations will meet or exceed the industry standard of no more than 5% contamination in our bales. We simply must produce the highest quality of recycled materials needed by our customers in order to be profitable. Nevertheless, material unfit for recycling ends up converted into steam power through our energy from waste facility to provide energy for the downtown area. Some have criticized Covanta for not including glass in the materials that will be recycled. While we understand their concerns, our solution is, as proposed, is just the beginning. The next phase of the Covanta Advanced Recycling Center is likely to allow for the recovery of glass. But we have to begin somewhere. The paper, plastics, cardboard, and metal we would recycle beginning in 2015 are the best means to achieve a return on our investment and share the revenues with the City of Indianapolis to help fund other critical municipal services, such as police protection. Go ahead. Some of our key partners in the Advanced Recycling Center. For the construction, we are hiring a local firm. It's Midwest Construction. Our contractors, they're based here in Indianapolis, and we'll be hiring local labor. Our equipment suppliers, Van Dyke Recycling Solutions, more will come in a moment with those folks. But they're here to engineer, design, procure, and install the equipment for the Advanced Recycling Center. For commodities offtake, we're in initial negotiations with the following companies. For paper, International Paper and Sunoco. Plastics, Perpetual Recycling, Plastics Recycling Inc., and Canusa Hirschman. Metals, Sims, Omnisource, and Bedford Recycling. Covanta's technology partner, Van Dyke Recycling Solutions, is a world leader in the recycling equipment industry and is North America's leading system supplier, having constructed over 350 similar systems that are models of efficiency and profitability. And they are ready to bring this state-of-the-art technology to the Hoosier State. At this point, I'll turn it over to Brian Shalati of Van Dyke Recycling Solutions.
Thank you, Scott. First of all, I'd like to take the chance to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today about what would be a very innovative and sustainable waste management solution for the city of Indianapolis. My name is Brian Shalati. I'm the Director of Business Development for Van Dyke Recycling Solutions. Van Dyke Recycling Solutions is North America's leading supplier of recycling equipment and designer of sorting systems. We were founded in 1984. We are headquartered out of Stamford, Connecticut. We have 10 sales and service offices throughout North America. We're still a family-owned business with roughly $100 million in yearly revenues. All of our recycling equipment that we supply is cutting-edge technology from Europe that has been field-proven for many years. We are exclusive with we have exclusive licensee agreements with several European manufacturers that are supplying key components in this Covanta ARC design. Some of those are as follows. Bolograph Recycling Machinery, who specializes in systems engineering and balers. Lubo Systems, who specializes in screening technology. And T-Tech, who's the world leader in sensor-based sorting. Van Dyke Recycling Solutions actually pioneered the development of single-stream recycling throughout North America. We specialize in the successful delivery of what we call mega single-stream MRFs. Of that, we have over an 80% market share for those 40-plus ton per hour type facilities. Next slide. Okay, this is, I'm going to try to use my pointer to follow the flow diagram here. This is the flow diagram of the Covanta ARC design. So it shows how the material will flow through the plant and how the recycled materials will be recovered. If I start here, the MSW will be processed through a size reducer. This piece of equipment has two main functions: to open and liberate bags, for the material inside the bags to be properly sorted downstream, and also to size reduce any large bulky items. After that, the material will travel to a series of screens right here that will split the material into three distinct sizes. That will be an over 6-inch fraction, a 3-inch to 6-inch fraction, and an under 3-inch fraction. The under 3-inch fraction would pass a magnet and an eddy current for ferrous and non-ferrous removal or recovery. The remaining 0 to 3-inch fraction would go to a final screen, a 1-inch screen. After that, the under 1-inch material or fines fraction will go to landfill disposal, and the 1-inch to 3-inch fraction will go to Covanta's energy from waste facility. If I go back up to the top here, the other two sized fractions, which is the over 6-inch and the 3-inch to 6-inch fractions, will go to air drum separators, where the material will be split into heavy, medium, and light densities. The heavy and medium density fractions will go to ballistic separators, where the material will be further split into a 2D flat fraction, like paper and film and plastic film, and a 3D rolling fraction, such as plastic containers. The 2D flat fraction and the light fraction, the light density fraction from the air drum separators, all goes to a series of T-Tech optical sorters for the separation and recovery of mixed paper from the plastic film. The 3D rolling fraction goes to a separate series of T-Tech optical sorters for the recovery of plastic containers by different polymer types, such as PET and HDPE. All of those recycled products then would go through a final quality control inspection process done by skilled employees, mainly to maximize product purity. After that, those clean recyclables will be baled individually and sold off as commodities. All the remaining non-recyclable residue will be conveyed directly to Covanta's energy from waste facility. Next slide. Okay, this is a simplified schematic of a typical T-Tech setup. First of all, T-Tech, the T-Tech optical sorters are truly the eyes, brains, and hands of this Covanta ARC design. The reason for that is it utilizes several T-Tech AutoSort 4 model units, which are the world's most flexible sensor-based sorters, due to the combination of both near-infrared and visual spectrometry sensors. That combination of sensors allows these units to do a wide variety of sorting tasks and several highly specialized tasks. These units come in 9-foot wide, up to 9-foot wide units. The material is detected at high speeds by using a ultra high resolution sensors, which are operating at up to 320,000 scan points per second. So what does that mean? That means that even the smallest of objects on this belt can't really fall through or not be detected by the sensor's detection grid. And large items on the belt can just be detected that more precisely. After that, the information that the sensors pick up is electronically processed here, which is basically the T-Tech's brains of the unit, so that the detected material can be selectively ejected into this separation chamber. It's separated by the use of very precise jets of pressurized air, which are right here. Next slide. I think we're going to show a video. And then finally, we have a short video that does a good job demonstrating the basic sorting principle of a T-Tech. So each material on the belt reflects light differently. So that's how the sensors can differentiate between different types of material. This is the sensor's detection grid that I spoke about at a resolution of 320 scan points per second. And then the selected material will be ejected by these pressurized air valves at the end of the conveyor. That's it. Thank you.
So in closing, Kerry, Renee, the IRC, Covanta, we all have the same goal, to improve recycling for the people of Indianapolis. But Covanta's solution is the only solution that doesn't cost the city or its residents anything. And the money is guaranteed now and well into the future. Covanta has been a strong partner with Indianapolis since 1988. We're not going anywhere. It really boils down to a question. Do residents want the Covanta Advanced Recycling Center that's 100% paid for by private investment, increases recycling by 500%, and is operational in 2015? Or do residents want to risk going with the Recycling Coalition's proposal, the details of which no one has seen and is supposedly paid for by loans that are going to come due and grant money that could run out in 5 to 10 years? Their plan leaves Indy residents to pick up and pay the tab for a recycling program that few of them are choosing to pay for today. Covanta's proposal is the only solution that is both environmentally friendly and fiscally viable for the city of Indianapolis and its residents. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Scott and Brian. Let me go to other counselors. You have questions first because I have a few. Okay. The first is on this matter of cost. So Covanta isn't investing $45 million for the heck of it. There's value here for you. And since no one's seen the contract outside of the group that's been negotiating it, no one knows for sure what the value is. So could you describe the value proposition on your side? Because it's not entirely accurate to say that it's cost-free. There's a long-term cost to the people of the city and tipping fees, because you have a facility behind this facility that has another function. Could you describe how these functions?
Sure, and it's what the tipping facility behind the recycling center is what makes this economically viable. What it does is it opens up additional tip fee opportunities for us at that energy from waste facility. So in effect, those tons that are getting recycled are now not being burned. Hence, I can now divert from landfills further tonnage that now can be combusted and turned into energy.
But just to be clear, additional tipping fee opportunities equals taxpayer dollars.
No, this would be stuff that comes from outside the city of Indianapolis, suburbs, commercial, within the city, that sort of a thing. It does not. The single-family residential homes, that contract stays in place. Nothing changes except we're taking a bunch of those tons out of the combustion process and recycling them.
But the flow from the MRF, the dirty MRF, whatever you want to call it, goes. It's not a neutral output, right?
I'm not following your question.
The output from the facility in front of the incinerator, there's output into the incinerator. Yes.
Sure. The residuals go into the energy from waste facility. Correct. Yes.
And then could you go on and talk a little bit about the glass? You said it happened in the future. So what future?
We're contemplating a phase 2 for this. Right now we're going after what's economically viable. Glass is not economically viable in central Indiana right now as far as recycling it. So we're going after what we can get a return on first. The 1, 2, and 5 plastics, papers, the cardboards, the metals, there's money to be made there, certainly, else we would not be making the investment. Glass would be a secondary thing, as would organics. So we're looking at like anaerobic digestion as part of a phase 2, and glass potentially. And there's some reasons why we would want to do glass outside of the lack of an economic incentive to sell the glass. There's some reasons why we'd want to take it out as well, operational reasons.
So just to be clear, contemplated but not required as
Correct.
part of what. So the phase 2 is just a conceptual phase 2. There's no actual plans on paper to add glass in the contract that's being negotiated.
That is correct.
Okay. So glass is literally not a part of this, and it will not be part of it.
It is currently not part of it.
Under the current contract. All right. Thank you. All right. Can you talk to me about the material that's valuable that comes out of the process? For example, I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of end users of recyclable material, and I know you have too, who have a lot of concerns about the quality of the material that's gone through this kind of an approach, a dirty MRF. So aluminum particularly, and I'm especially worried about paper. Can you talk about those two commodities?
Our commodity offtake partners are very comfortable with what the contamination rates are going to be. I guess that's all I can. We would not be making this investment if we did not have fairly strong commitments in regards to those. Now, there are some of those commodity offtakes that would like you to pay for the cleanup and have people do the sorting and the cleaning in advance, and so basically get a subsidized product. And I suppose that's fair enough, but it saves them costs on their end.
So I have letter after letter after letter from industry folks who tell me the opposite. So
and some of those letter writers have actually approached us about doing business with us. I mean, it's an interesting negotiating point by some of those folks, I guess.
And I think they probably are, because no matter what happens, they need the material, right? So if the clarity from the 25th floor is they're going to sign it, period, then what choice do they have in that scenario?
Well, I guess it proves that it can work in their plants then.
It proves that when you force a monopoly in the biggest city in the state, you have no choice but to go there if you're a recycler. And
There's no monopoly. There is a curbside and drop-off program, and this is only for the city of Indianapolis, not the suburbs. And so there are other alternatives out there.
I would be delighted to make policy for the suburbs, but I don't get that. I don't get that opportunity. So explain to me then, so tell me, I guess I don't understand then the value of the recyclable paper, the output of that. Tell me, because what I hear is that paper coming into the facility is going to be mixed with diapers, syringes, everything awful you can think about, sauce, waste, batteries. Therefore, it's degraded and can't be recycled or used.
That portion of which that is degraded will be then used to be made into energy. So yes, the contamination rate is potentially higher, but make no mistake, single stream programs have a fair amount of contamination as well.
Well, a fair amount, but there's so much.
Double-digit amounts.
Well, we can talk about that later in our sequence. But here, every single entity that's come to me who wants the material, the main issue is the contamination, right? And their main issue with another approach is because of the lack of contamination. In you're right, any scenario is going to have contamination, period. That's true. But one scenario purposefully and willfully mixes baby diapers and everything else with all of the material, and the other one attempts to have them separate.
And if it's too contaminated, we cannot sell it. And we are comfortable that we can get it clean enough to sell.
And then what happens to it if it's not sold?
Then it's converted to energy.
Well, incinerated is key, but yeah.
Right.
Right, okay. Mm-hmm. But part of the contract then is there's incineration and power generation as part of the contract, correct?
Yes, it's basically an extension of the current contract as regards to those portions.
Okay, so there's some debate, just so the public knows, when power generation is part of a contract, whether it should go to the council or not, and that's a public policy debate between branches of government we're having, so that's not really for us to discuss right now. So something that happened during the legislative session that was extremely impressive was a movement from our state legislators to set a goal for cities as far as recycling. Can you talk about what the estimated recycling percentage would be here?
We'll get to what the overall waste composition is to around 25% or so. Now that said, over half of the waste is not what would be considered recyclable. So 51% is not recyclable. So they already you're at 49% best case scenario.
You lost me.
And I'd have to get into some big details, but
so
38% is organic right now, for instance.
Right.
11% is bulkies, construction debris, that sort of a thing. So you're at 51% right off the bat. That's not recyclable. But what is recyclable, we'll do 80 to 90% of what is economically recyclable out of the waste stream. So the number 1, number 2, number 5 plastics, the papers, the cardboards, and the metals, the stuff that is economically saleable, we will get 80 to 90% of.
Right. You're saying the point you're making is of this much solid waste, this much is valuable, we're going to get this much.
No. The first zoop would be just what's recyclable, but there's a big portion in there. Even though it's recyclable, there's no place to put it. There's no market for it.
Okay.
So film plastic, for instance.
So 25% is the number.
There's no use, no market for it. Well, there's a market for it on the coasts if you could get it there, but it's so light you can't transport it, so it ends up costing money to actually recycle.
So did you put it at 25% earlier?
Yeah.
Is that a requirement in the contract?
There is a requirement in the contract. Contract's still in finalizing stages, so I'm not going to. I'll defer, the contract stuff to the city.
It's worth noting that since March we've been asking for a copy of it, and the response has been, well, we're about a week away. We're still negotiating it. that's a long negotiation.
We're both tough negotiators.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Theoretically, the Public Works Board would be voting on that tomorrow. But now I guess they're just going to take public testimony. But my question then is, if I were a member of the Public Works Board and I had a hearing tomorrow on a contract, I would want to see that contract and know exactly what it said. Before I heard public testimony, would you, if you were on that board, would you want that too?
I'm certain they'll get the contract well in advance of whatever the vote date is. I'm positive they're not voting tomorrow.
Lori, is that accurate? Will they get it well in advance of the voting day? I know, but they'll get it weeks in advance? Okay, thanks. Okay, the last question I have is, well, I have a bunch, but I don't have to go through all of them. The Houston. So I've been doing a lot of research on this online, and there's a similar proposal, which is slightly different structure as far as public-private. Can you talk about that and the status of that contract?
I'm not that familiar with that contract, I'm sorry.
Well, from the public record that's available, which is a lot, there's a big wave of opposition in Houston. Now it appears as if that Covanta deal is not going to happen, or it's very likely. It's sort of off the rails according to the media reports I've read. Would you agree with that much?
I've not been following it.
Okay. Well, I'll just for folks here, if they want to go Google it and confirm this, I've looked around on this a little bit. There's a similar proposal that was out there in Houston, structured differently, but it was for a similar kind of facility, and there's been a pretty significant wave of opposition for the exact same reasons. People concerned that the recycling is not going to be enough, and that the type of recyclable material that's going to be outputted from the facility isn't high enough quality to be used effectively for the city. And like I said earlier, this is a generational decision. This isn't a casual decision to make for the short term. This is a big decision that's going to affect all of us who live in Indianapolis for generations really to come. This is not an easy decision, and so it really needs an impactful long-term discussion. And that's what's happening in Houston. So I'm giving them a thumbs up.
Sure. I guess I would also direct you, as far as the hypotheticals in Houston, to look at the actual results that they're achieving in Montgomery, Alabama, and in over a dozen facilities in Europe. And we can provide you with some of those that would
I'd be happy
give
to
you some concrete data.
The only other comment I have is you're going to have to help me with this phrase. There's a phrase in China for recyclable materials called the green wall. Is that correct? Could you describe what that is and what that means? Green fence.
Green fence.
Yeah.
Yes, they're trying to cut down on the contaminated recyclables that have been sent over there. So people are just bailing up, I guess, almost unmixed varieties, say, of plastics and papers that are very contaminated. And the Chinese government, from my understanding, is just refusing to allow it in to be imported.
Would the output from this facility pass the green fence in China?
Yes.
All of it?
What's that?
All of it?
Anything that we're bailing, sure.
Okay. I guess not glass, though.
Well.
I'm just joking. Okay. Pam, I think Councilor Hickman has a question.
Thank you, Chairman. I guess I would like to start out by saying that none of us up here are experts, but we've spent quite a bit of time studying this issue. So I take offense to you taking light to questions that Councilor just asked you by the giggling. So I'm hoping that you'll take my uneducated questions without that and with more respect. First of all, how many jobs will you create that we won't have if we don't go with your company?
There'll be over 60 permanent skilled labor jobs at the facility.
And those per hour would be?
It's anywhere from on an annual basis, $45,000 to $100,000 a year jobs with full benefits.
$100,000, what kind of jobs would that be?
Those would be like a maintenance supervisor sort of a position, chief engineer, those sorts of things.
Okay, engineer, okay. All right, you said that with this cleaner recycled materials that you will produce energy. How much more energy or how much energy will you produce, and how will that energy be used?
The energy from waste plant is currently operating at 100% of capacity. What we'll be doing is taking out 60 to 70,000 tons of waste from that facility and recycling it. So we're going to have to find an additional 60 to 70,000 tons to backfill those recycled tons to bring us back to 100% of energy capacity. So we won't be producing actually any more energy than what we're producing now.
Okay, and you said that financially the city will benefit. How will the city benefit?
There'll be a share in the commodities revenues after year 6, I think is how it's currently structured.
Do you have any dollar amount that you can even blow out there?
I mean, it's probably at least $250,000, $500,000, somewhere in there annually.
I thought I heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the city would end up with full risk. What did you mean by that statement?
Oh, under an alternative proposal, I would prefer the IRC to describe their own proposal, but people have talked about this closed loop fund or grants and that sort of thing. The closed loop fund it's a loan program, and someone has to back those loans, pay back those loans, and that's what I meant by that.
Okay, so you were saying something about the other.
Correct.
Okay. How much pollution will you produce?
Very little, if any. It's a recycling facility. We handle our own stormwater there. It doesn't burn any, so there's no air things. I don't think it's an issue. We've already met with IDEM, and they see little to no issue with it at all as far as a polluting.
There's no water pollution by runoff from rinsing?
We treat our own water and use it in-house.
You treat your own water and it's recycled in?
We recycle our own water, yes. Mm-hmm.
I guess we're all a little concerned why we're not recycling glass, and you said there were reasons, but I guess I don't understand them. Can you explain?
If we could sell it, we would recycle it.
Oh, it's not marketable is what you're saying?
Correct. It is, obviously it's recyclable. It's just not economically viable at this point.
Gosh, I remember taking them back to the grocery store and getting money for refills. So I find it kind of hard to believe that glass is not marketable at all, but I'll take your word for it. Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Anyone else? Oh, wait. Councilor Shreve.
I'm not familiar with the terms of the contract that the city is negotiating with you, but on this $45 million proposition, you come into this working with Van Dyke as your principal vendor. Would they remain your vendor throughout the lifespan of this facility? And my guess is that the technology is evolving such that that reclamation percentage will improve continuously, will improve over time. Is there some component in the contract within which you're going to commit to continuing to reinvest in the reclamation hardware behind this facility, or will you drop in the $45 million on the front end, and that will be it through the whatever lifespan this contract may have?
Well, I can't get into the specifics of it just because I don't recall them. Yes, there are some provisions in there pertaining to that. That improvement must be made over time in the recycling rates, or recovery rates, I should say.
This question might better be directed to your vendor. How quickly is your industry changing? Is it, I know nothing about the hardware and the PowerPoint that we saw there. Is that which we see today similar to that which we would have seen 5 years ago and that which we'll see in 10 years in terms of the reclamation percentage or the efficiency?
Certainly the technology improves, really, in any industry, and definitely it does in the recycling industry. I would say, the major development in the last 10 years were the optical sorters. Though that technology really improved in the last 5 to 10 years. Will it continue to improve? Probably, and the advantage of at least the T-Tech optical sorters is when the sensors improve or the software improves, we can actually upgrade the units that are already on site. So that's certainly an option for all of our customers to upgrade their equipment.
I thank you. Councilor Barth referenced this being a generational decision. I don't know the scope or term of this agreement, but presuming that it is a long-term proposition, I sure hope there's some commitment to continuing to invest in the efficiency of this plant if our city determines to move forward.
May the length of the contract?
It would. This would extend the contract 10 years.
And when is it scheduled to end now?
2018. So it would take it to 2028.
Okay. This would take us to 2028. Okay. So it would certainly hamper several future mayors.
As far as a company, what I can say, the existing facility, when first constructed back in 1988, we processed about 600,000 tons of waste a year. Through continual improvement and enhancements to the facility, we're now up, 740,000 tons of solid waste, and we have added now another 100,000 tons of liquid waste that we're processing every year. So as a company, it behooves us to reinvest and get better and make more money for our shareholders. So.
Thanks, councilors, and thanks, Brian. Thanks for putting up with all my questions. I appreciate it. Next up.